Our reaction to practice for the Bahrain Grand Prix. The official 2024 Formula One season has begun. We have had our first proper session. Let's start with FP1 then, shall we? And reflect on it a little bit. It's not a representative session. It's done in the soaring heat of daytime Bahrain. But, you know, we're going to say that Daniel Ricciardo was, of course, fastest in the RB V-Carb Racing Bulls. What? Apparently now it's RB or Racing Bulls. People saying one of those.
People
two.
saying RB, but I'm just like, oh no, because I tweeted it earlier saying RB, and then everyone was like, oh, I thought you meant Red Bull. It's just like, oh, I just want V-Carb to catch on, but I don't think it's going to, sadly.
No, I don't think it is either. But Danny Rick was fastest because he was on the softs. The McLarens also went on the softs, as did Yuki Tsunoda. But then that pack below that, it was very, very close with the medium runners, which was, I guess, again, it was FP1. You're like, no, they're not probably pushing, or they're just doing some aero reg testing or whatever.
It's funny because when Max went fastest, everyone was like, championship over, and then as soon as he got close again, it was like, oh, there's.
Well, we were doing a Twitch watch along, and I literally, when Max went fastest by 0.6 of a second, I left the room and started doing some voodoo stuff with this particular Red Bull that I have to try and slow it down. But apparently it's worked since then, because we've got a lot to talk about. Question from Ed Smalen. If V-Carb performs well, how long will it take for other teams to start whining about it? I don't think they're going to be as good as maybe we're all excited about. I think, Danny Rick getting the headlines. The last time he topped a session was Monza 2021 and all this sort of stuff, and, excitement building. But realistically, the soft tyre is 1.2 seconds quicker than the mediums, and he topped the timing sheets by like 0.3. It was nothing.
What was interesting, though, is the fact that the V-Carbs were basically battling McLaren, who also did the softs when they did those runs. And there was part of me that thought, my word, because Zach Brown is one of the people that have been the most vocal about how he doesn't think it's fair and stuff. So very interesting, but again, like, as is always the case in Bahrain, it's such different conditions in FP1 to the rest of the session. Even if you take out the fact that, like you say, people were running softs, people were running mediums, it's still the fact that it's not, the conditions are nothing like we're going to get into qualifying and even the race.
Now, before we dive into any more and go to free practice 2, I've got 2 shout outs. Okay, so listen up. First and foremost, I never ask for you to subscribe, but we really want to get to 500,000 subscribers. That's such a beautiful, gorgeous number. So please, if you want to come along with us on this adventure throughout this weekend and this whole season and future seasons, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd love to have you here as part of the P1 family. And secondly, my second shout out is thank you, McLaren, for this lovely gift box set, which included the jumper, and you got a hoodie, didn't you, Tommy, to kind of celebrate DTS and the upcoming Formula One season. So thank you so much, McLaren. It's a very lovely jumper. And thirdly, actually, there's another shout out. P1 live show tickets. P1 live show tickets are available. We'd love to see you in the middle of April, and it looks like we're going to get the greatest season of all time in Formula One. So what better than to come to a live show where you can meet fellow Formula One fans and ourselves and have a great time. So yeah, link will be in the description for that as well, or anywhere on social media, just on our link tree. Right, let's get into free practice 2 then, shall we? Oh my God. So free practice 1, Tommy, we're like, yeah, whatever. Free practice 2 is known as the representative session. This is the one where it is the most like qualifying in the race, because it's done as it goes into nighttime. It's cooler, it's faster. This was the session for teams to do their low fuel quali sims. And what did we get? A Mercedes 1-2. How's that biggest flop coming along, Tommy?
Yeah, no, what's amusing is how like everyone's so hyped. And if you at this order essentially, and if you put that Verstappen would be first, Perez second by 0.2, and they were 0.3 ago, the field would all be saying it's over, what a rubbish season we're about to have. But the fact that what a difference time makes that Mercedes 1-2, and we're all hyped about it.
That's so true, isn't it? Question from P1 Patreon member D Mystic. Are Mercedes back? Okay, let's dive into these times a little bit more closely. Haas have looked washed since the moment they rolled out of the garage for 2024. And Nico Hülkenberg's managed to thrust himself up to P7 in that Haas. The literal team principal has said that they're going to be at the back.
Wait, you don't think that Haas are 4/100th slower than Red Bull? No.
Let me finish my point, Tom Bellingham, without your sarcasm. But I think that is probably the biggest indicator for those times being hardly anything, because of the fact their own team, unless Haas have rolled out this car that they're hoping was good, and it actually is much better than the team principal ever wished for, and they're actually decent. I think it's more the first theory that I came up with, that Haas are still reasonably washed. But then, look, we'll see. Are Mercedes back? God knows. It's a good sign that at least they will fight in the sort of second, third fastest team area. Fernando Alonso as well, just thrusting himself into the mix as he does. It's too early to say, because I really don't want my head on the end of a stake, not the car, an actual stake, because I've said that Mercedes
head on a stake. I mean, let's not forget Mercedes were that team that were, they've done this many times before. I think it was even 2020 when they weren't very good. They loved to top a Friday practice session. So we have seen it before, but there's hope, because we all thought that Red Bull, and they still could be, a million miles ahead. But yeah, it's certainly a lot more of an interesting scenario going into tomorrow, because yeah, it was exciting to see it changing constantly throughout the day.
Next question from Space Manly. How long until Red Bull decides to crush our hopes and dreams? Look, I'm more optimistic than I was previous. If Max was like second and Perez fourth, just pack your bags. It's done. But Max down in sixth, Perez down in 10th. It's kind of at the level where I'm like, would Max genuinely want... Because Max is Max. He will go as fast as he wants, whenever he wants. And I feel as though there are some struggles there. We saw it. Max was saying in free practice 1 that the car was bleep, and he wasn't happy with the car, and I don't feel like there was many positive sentiments coming from either side of the garage in Red Bull. So I think there are some struggles, and look, they've brought a whole new concept to that Red Bull racing car. This is not the same car as they had last year, and that was a risk that they have potentially taken. I'm going to be eating my words when they're on pole by a second tomorrow, but right now, yeah, they might well be struggling. I'm more leaning, and when I say more, 80% leaning towards that they will crush our hopes and dreams, but 20%, that was 2% before free practice 2. So it's a bigger window of hopium, yes.
I don't think there's any way that it wasn't genuine, the stuff that Max was saying about, the fact that he's struggling and things like that, because they want to understand this new concept. And even if Max is ahead of everyone, I think he even was at that point when he was complaining that the car wasn't very good, just shows that he knows what that car can deliver. So there's more potential there. But it certainly made it a lot more interesting, because it did look like they were going to be miles ahead. And even if they do, perhaps, I think they were talking about how they were doing a long run during that session, and they looked very, very good. But maybe, their quali pace again, because let's not forget last year, Max wasn't on pole every single race. It was a bit more close in that sense, and that does make the racing a bit more interesting when, we've seen teams dominate in the past, but they normally dominate from pole position. So if it is close in qualifying and they can't run away with it in qualifying, it makes it a lot more exciting, at least for the racing. So yeah, there's a lot more hope, I think, for fans than they thought at the start of the day.
Yeah, and we thought coming into this that it'd be Ferrari that would probably be the team to take a pole position in Bahrain, and Carlos up in fourth, reasonable time. Charles Leclerc, did he fancy ever getting a clean run for a lap ever? That man was either locking up or finding some kind of traffic on the apex of turn 1 or into the downhill double left-hander. It was a difficult session, I think, for Charles to get a lap together. Another driver as well that struggled was Lando Norris, trying to get a lap together. He literally finished last of everybody because he aborted his laps that he was trying to do. I'm hoping this isn't foreshadowing Lando's season this year where they have a good car and he does make these mistakes, because of course, you look back to last year, there were moments that were fantastic opportunities for the race had he hooked up qualifying. So yeah, we will have to wait and see. But McLaren not looking as bad as some people might have thought they were looking at certain times. So we'll see. P1 Patreon member Ruben Nuss. With FP2 being representative times, what teams do you think are sandbagging, if not all of them?
In terms of sandbagging, it's impossible to say at the moment, because I don't think the field is going to be this spread out. Like Lando is not going to be 2.2 seconds off the pace. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But the thing is, Red Bull, there's a lot of talk that they've not whacked their engine up yet, but we will just never know until we get to qualifying, and that is the beauty of the first race.
I think when you actually look at the classification of FP2, it looks roughly okay. Apart from Red Bull being the outliers, I think Red Bull are the only outlier in terms of when you look at the performance, you go, all right, yeah, Sauber down there. Alpine, again, I mean, for any Alpine fans out there, you're going to be quite worried, I think, with the 16th and 18th in FP2, and you would hope that they are also not fully whacking up their engines, but they've not looked great since the start of 2024 either, really. So we will have to wait and see. But I think generally that order doesn't look too crazy in terms of, you've got an RB up in P2 or anything like that. It looks relatively normal. And that sums it up. We are less than 24 hours away from actual qualifying, seeing actual cars going fast without sandbags on. Will Red Bull be on pole by a minute, or will we see an exciting grid for Saturday's race? Thank you so much, everybody. Lots of love, and we'll see you soon. And remember, Twitch as well. We'll be live on Twitch for qualifying and the race. Bye!
Bye!